Hey everyone, welcome back. On this episode, I've got a handful of topics I'm going to try to dive into. First off, I'm going to share a little story about the Kentucky buck that I just took down, what that experience was like, and how I was able to make that happen in late October or mid-October. Then we're going to get into some really stuff about how deer actually see. Not really get into it, but just kind of I went and read that article for Field and Stream about how deer see the rubs and scrapes glowing in the dark and what that kind of means for us as hunters, or just kind of ideas about it. Also, chat a bit about how deer sleep in shifts, which is pretty fascinating. Piece of behavior might explain a few things out in the woods. And as we move into late October and November, we're going to talk about that shift in food sources, and as the rut kicks in, how bucks are going to start to roam. Finally, I'll share my thoughts on going back to square one on public, doing those blind sits without any cameras, just relying on woodsmanship. So stick around. Hopefully it'll be a fun episode here, and hopefully a little bit of information and just learn from my mistakes and what I did wrong, what I did right. All right, let's kick things off by telling you about the buck I just took in Kentucky. And yeah, I'm pretty thrilled about this one. I really feel like I played my cards right. What I did was start out the first day an observation sit on a bean field. And just remember, this is coming off of my early season, kind of down in the dumps where I gut shot one, looked for 5 days, sun up, sun down, and couldn't find it. Called in a dog, drones, everything. I do fear that deer is dead somewhere, but I was unable to find it. So continued on. So what I did is I went back, observation sit on bean field, keeping the wind in my face, setting up on the far side of the bean fields so I'd see where they came out. I tried a couple times of just diving in for that aggressive kill where they're coming out. But they would shift their locations where they're entering into the bean fields by 50, 100 yards each time, just enough to kind of put me out of position. But so I took this information. I did another sit on the far side of the field and just kind of noticed that all the deer, no matter where they come out or what they do in the field, they all kind of ended up in the same kind of funnel area. So I saw exactly where they're funneling, and they were basically cutting through the bean field. At this time of year, weren't that interested in beans. They'd feed a little bit, but they were really on the move. And they were going to the corner of the property. So coming out of woods, through beans, and then back into the corner where one part of the corner was steep terrain down to a river, which I didn't know if they were cutting across the river or it was kind of the oxbow or elbow in the river, and they were taking that high ground around to some ag fields on the backside. It turns out that's what they were doing. So once I had that dialed in, I set up on the right pinch point. Buck came out, walked across the bean field exactly like I thought he was going to. And then once he was actually in the woods with me, I had to turn around 270 degrees to my weak side and take the shot out of my saddle, which I was able to do. So that's the story of how I see the deal on that Kentucky buck. Is a great buck for me. Is in the 120s. So I got him mirror mounted, and he's at home already. And he's looking great up on the mount. So I couldn't be happier about that. And for me, it's not. I'm like I said, I don't like giant bucks, and to me, a 120 is a big buck. Well, 120 anything, but to me, it's about that learning and that chess match. If you got a buck or the biggest buck on your farm, it's about he's doing this, and then you're adjusting, and then sealing the deal on no matter what the buck is, you've basically outsmarted us. I think that's where the real learning and the value comes in of what we do, because you can take that information and apply it to the rest of your hunts down the road. Now that I've got the Kentucky buck down, it's time to talk about my next challenge. Heading into late October, it's October 23rd right now, looking ahead to November, and I'm shifting gears to public land. It's a whole different ballgame. Most of my hunting time has been 90% public land. I had the opportunity to hunt a private farm this year for working for the farmer, and that was a great experience. Saw more deer, doing deer things than I've ever seen, and now I'm getting my butt kicked on public again. This particular spot, you cannot use trail cameras. It's heavily pressured. I'll just let you know it's a military base. So they don't let you do everything. The same areas aren't open every day. And it's kind of a lottery of what you get. So it is pretty difficult. It's high deer density. But I'm not super familiar with all of the areas and everything. So it's basically going back to square one for me right at the end of October. So I've gone out twice, gone in blind in the morning, just picking spots on map, trying to learn as I go and set up. Haven't been successful at all. The first day was just a total failure. Got in there, saw no sign, no nothing. Basically just set up for no reason, just to give it a try. Today I went and thought I was in the same boat, but when I got down, I found I was within 20 yards of a pretty good scrape and a good rub, and then a community rub on a pine. So I was in the right area, and if I wouldn't have had to go to work, I think I should have stayed up there. I think I might have been able to see something. So I just need to adjust from that area now. So it's going to be basically from here on out for me, it's about grinding it out, learning a little each day, and then using that knowledge to refine my plan each day and just go back and keep getting in there day after day. I think the real key here is going to be finding those rut funnels and natural pinch points in the terrain with this kind of pressure. The deer aren't going to do the same things twice. They're not going to just do deer things when you got 50 people on, a few hundred acres of land. In my mind, I'm not going to be able to really target one particular buck, and I don't have a target buck right now anyway. So it's about bucks of opportunity as I go into the rut here. And I'm going to use that lay of the land, the maps, just how I see things on the ground, and find those pinch points, those funnels, and just kind of the high concentrations of deer and where they want to be. So that's my game plan for the next few weeks as I roll into November here. So let's talk about something that I've been kind of interested in lately. And that's kind of this is kind of my own thoughts. This isn't like, research or too much or anything. And that's how deer sleep and their food patterns shifting into the rut here. And I've been watching a lot of the drone deer studies and combining that with the GPS collar studies. And one of the coolest things I've learned is that all the stuff we say about deer having a morning and an evening like we do is really just us putting a human idea on them, I think. Deer actually sleep in short cycles of about 3 hours at a time. And then they're up moving or just kind of eating in their bed or just kind of lounging around. But they're only really sleeping about 3 hours at a time in these repeated cycles. There really isn't a morning or an evening for them. I mean, if you think about it, that they're up moving during the day, they're up moving in the evening, they're up moving at night. So we always say, our morning is their evening is our morning, but I don't really think that's applied. I think that that's just a human idea that we put on it, where they just sleep in shifts. So there is no morning, evening to them. It's all the same. So now as the days get shorter and we get into late October and November, they do move more, but our window to catch them is tighter. And that leads into that shift of food sources. They're moving from things like beans to the acorns to the deep woods. and it takes them a couple of weeks for their stomachs to adjust, which I didn't know. And that was something the guy from the drone deer study said. I need to look more into that. And he said it takes about 2 weeks for them to move from one food source to the other in their stomach for this winter period. So I'm wondering if that's kind of what the winter October lull kind of comes from. Is that I know that we always say the October locals are transitioning into the acorns, but maybe it's because of their stomachs. They're not moving as much and kind of switching that food source, but not really on one or the other, and just kind of making that change so that they don't really have a whole lot of places to go because their bodies are changing so much and adapting to the new environment. Another cool bit from a study I've been looking at is that the rubs and scrapes actually glow under UV light, which deer can see. So that makes me start asking a bunch of different questions about those, because I've always thought of deer rubs as kind of like marking territory, leaving scent as a calling card, same as scrapes kind of. But it kind of makes me think that they're not just marking territory randomly, that they might be leaving themselves little signposts to say, hey, this is where the does are, and I've made a box around this area for me to remember that. Or this is the route to the bean field. It's a whole new layer of, maybe those, they get in their beds and they make those rubs around there. And maybe it's not, hey, I'm just bored and I'm using energy, so I'm going to rub these trees. Maybe it's like, I am marking this. So when I come back here and it's pitch black out, and yeah, my night vision is better than a human, but it's still not perfect. I see this area glow from a distance, so I can find my way back in here. And it makes me wonder about things like moon phases or night lighting. I'm not a moon guy. I don't really believe in the moon phases and deer movement and affecting that. But if they can see those UV lights at night, it has to be changed with how bright the moon is and where it is in the sky. So I kind of wonder if that has anything to do with movement. So that's just kind of something that I'm going to think about going into the season. And I don't know, give me something to do in the tree stand, I guess, when I'm doing those all-day sits. So yeah, there's a lot more going on than just a simple pattern, and it's definitely something I want to dig deeper into. So now, before we dive into the final thoughts, I want to talk a little bit about the gear I'm running this year, because I do think that I've really, over the years, I've been kind of a gear nut and a dork. But I think I've kind of dialed into my system of what I like. Yeah, I'll probably make some changes. But this is kind of what I've been running so far this year consistently. And I've liked everything I'm running so far. So I've been running the Ranger Hybrid platform by Lone Wolf Custom Gear. I like that. It's worked out really well. I love the size of the platform because it lets me stand and turn around. In fact, I had to turn around 270 degrees on that Kentucky buck, and the platform made it easy. I basically just stood up and turned around instead of trying to like swing around, I guess, and I would on a smaller platform. But I'm also running the Latitude Ranger 11 pack, which fits nicely with it. I am kind of a minimalist on it. I can attach a jacket to it. Kind of just, if you need more stuff, the Ranger 11 is probably not going to work for you. But if you want to just bring minimal stuff, I think it works great. Maybe not for all day sits, or you're going to have to line your pockets or something, but for what I'm doing right now, it's working out great. My saddle setup, I go back and forth between the tethered 2-panel saddle, I can't remember the name right now, the Timber Ninja Minimalist saddle. Kind of depends on what I'm doing and how far I'm walking, how long I'm planning to sit. I really like the Minimalist saddle of how light it is. I think it's the lightest saddle in the game. And it's great for shorter sits, I'd say 3 hours or so. But as I get into the rut, I do all day sits. And it's going to be painful. I've always, in my mind, it's always been about what gets deer killed and not the comfort level to me. I'll be uncomfortable. I've never been one. I've always saddle hunted. But I've never been like, these things are really comfortable. I use them because it gets it done. But as I am going into all day sits, I am going to switch back to my tethered one from last year, because that's the most comfortable saddle in the game. That 2-panel one that they came out with last year, it's got the big pockets. it's heavy and it's bulky to walk long distances in, you know, but if you're going to sit all day, it's the Cadillac of saddles to me anyway. I do know Latitude makes a new 2-panel one, which would be nice. I think any 2-panel saddle is going to be better for an all day sit, obviously. I'm shooting Phase 4 bow. I love it. I've also been shooting my V3X. Thank God I have a backup bow because I was shooting my V3X all season. Nicked a cable on something. So it's been out. I had to shoot my buck with the Phase 4. Luckily, I had a backup bow. Went to change the strings so I could go back to my V3X. Ordered the strings for a size 31 instead of 33. So now I'm still waiting for strings. So if I wouldn't have had a backup bow, I might be out of the game and might not kill that buck. So, and by backup bow, I mean just not selling my bow when I buy a new one, you know, because bows depreciate so much. So why not keep it? That $1,500 bow you bought, it's going to sell for $500. So why not slap some old equipment you got and just have a backup bow? So I'm really happy that I had that. I actually put a light on my sight this year. I get CSR, which is kind of water in my right eye, which they say will go away, but we'll see. Makes my pins blurry and it dulls the light. So it's kind of helped a ton for that. I kind of need to get a clarifier, which I was going to put on the V3X when the new strings actually do come in with the right ones. So I'm going to try that out. For arrows, I'm using the Easton Axis 4mm. I really like those. I have the Halo 9 Nox with it. Now, when I gut shot that deer, I never found the arrow, so I don't know if the arrow's in it, but I never saw a light, so that one didn't work. It did work for the one I just shot, but that deer went like 20 yards and died, so I would have found it pretty easily. I'm trying out the Sever 2-inch hybrid broadheads this year. I've typically used the iron will fixed blades, but I want to try mechanical for a big cutting diameter just because I did lose that deer from kind of the gut shot and I had no blood or anything, and just kind of giving it a try. As my shots go, I don't know what I do, but I usually 90% of the time make a good shot, heart, lungs. But if I tend to shoot one way or the other, I tend to shoot back and not forward. And I think people will trend one way or the other. I trend back. I've had some liver shots before. Never really, this year was my first gut shot, I think. That's not true. I lost one in Kansas last year to a gut shot. But I've never hit a shoulder, knock on wood. It's just kind of the way I trend. So I'm going to try this 2-inch out. This is what I shot my deer with, and it looked like a murder scene. And that was nice. So we'll see how it works. If it doesn't, I'll switch back to the iron wells. But so far, so good. I do want to shoot some does with it and just see how it goes. I'm going to try the beast broadheads out too. So we'll see. I don't know how much I'm going to like those, but I do like not having that little rubber band around it. As for boots, I'm running the crispy boots. I like that line of boots. I understand how expensive they are, but I just like how stiff they are for being in the saddle and kind of like that angle you are on a platform. Now, I did actually get like some lacrosse rubber boots, but only the ankle high ones because I hate rubber boots. But the little like muck boots, like the little rubber ankle boots, I'm really liking those. I think I was actually wearing those when I shot my deer. I can see myself wearing those. I just need to find out what level of socks I need to wear with those because rubber boots always made my feet so cold. So I need to find kind of an easy day. I'm not doing that long to sit to kind of get out there and see how cold my feet get because I don't want to do an all day sit in the cold and then my feet freeze with those. So we'll see. All right, folks, as we head into the rut, this is truly the moment we've all been waiting for. This is the time of year where all the patient, all the prep, and all of those early mornings come together. It's both a marathon and a sprint, and it's hands down the best time of year to be a whitetail hunter. So if you've been waiting for the perfect moment to get out there, this is it. So I'm going to get out in the woods, show what we learned, enjoy every minute, and make the most of the incredible time of year. All right. So hit me up if you guys with some success stories, and good luck out there.